Begin the current Daf Mesechtas Gitin Daf Lamed Hey. Begin on the second line down at the top of the Amud, where the Gemara continues the halacha of the previous Mishnah. We're talking about in all these Mishnayos because it started off with the topic of our Mesechta of Hiskin Rabbi Hazakan, so we continue with other takanas, and one of them being regarding Almana, that she's not allowed to collect from the Yisayim only with Shavua, but then they stopped making her have a Shavua. So Rabbi Hazakan was instituted that she should make a neder to the Yisayim, whatever they want, and then she could collect the Ksuba. Gemara continues explaining why did they stop her from making the shvua, which is a basic halacha that you make a shvua when you're coming to collect. Anyone has to make a shvua when you collect from the Yisayim. So why would they stop Almana from making that shvua? Shiur's corresponds to the Cheskel, turn to the Daf Chaim. Appreciate him today's daf. So discussing today's daf are Peron Menichs Yisayim. So widows who claim their ksuba must swear to their claims before they collect from the state. That's the halacha of our Mishnah. However, Nimnu Malashbiyah, they stopped her from making that oath, but it's a machlekes in the Gemara whether this applies only bebezdin or even chutz lebezdin, as we'll see what's the difference if you make the shvua in bezdin or out of bezdin. The Gemara also differentiates between almana and grusha. This was specifically said for a widow collecting ksuba, not a grusha who also collects a ksuba. The halacha of nederes liyasamim, not taking a shvua but actually taking a neder for the yisayim. And several halachas regarding a chacham annulling vows, depending if it's a neder shehud b'rabim, if it was a public vow, or neder al das ram, which is more severe, is a neder taking on the intent and the willingness and the consciousness of the public. And also regarding tzorch lifra neder, do you have to specify the vow when you're coming to be mat to the neder? But the chacham, you have to say what the neder was. Rabbi say we say, right, when you come to the chacham, do you have to specify it or not? So we begin the Daf Lamed Hey. We had mentioned takanas enacted by Rabbi Hazakan, and in our Mishnah we said Einam nefres nechsisim el b'shvua, that she has not yet received her ksuba. The Gemara points out, as we said on the previous Amid, that habali par nechsi yisayim leipar b'shvua, anyone who collects a debt from orphans is required to swear, not only a widow. So on that, the Mishnah specifically mentions widows, but so that we should not erroneously reason we might think the Chum waived the required oath regarding ksuba to encourage women to marry. So the Mishnah therefore taught that widows are also required to swear. That's what we said on the previous daf. Now the Gemara continues to explain the halacha of the Mishnah as we continue the second line. The Mishnah said Nimnu Malashbiyah, but they stopped having her take a shur, take a lek. Says Gemara, my time. Why did they stop her from taking an oath? Everyone takes an oath always and here and there and collecting from the Yisayim. Says the Gemara, if you think it's because of Rav Kahana, some say it was Rabbi Yehuda Rav. Very interesting story. There was a story where an individual, b'shnei b'tzairis, in a famine year, in a hunger year, shehifkid dinner zav islamana. He deposited a golden dinner by a widow to watch this coin for him. Now everyone's looking for that undergarment drawer where you hide your cash, like as if no one's going to look in the same place that everyone puts it in the socks in the drawer. So she put it in the jug of flour, a good place to hide it. Problem was she forgot about it. But she baked. Now she took the flour, she made challah, she baked it in the bread. When the sanasal ani, and she gave it to a pauper. The yamim babala dinner. It was in a short time later, that some days later, that the owner of the coin came along. Bamalai said to her, "Havali dinari, give me my coin." Amrulay, she said to him, "Yehana, it should be effective to kill samha mavis, the potion of death." And one of the children of that woman, meaning referring to herself, if I had any benefit from your coin, I don't know what you're talking about. Even if she didn't know, I didn't have any pleasure from it. So Amr, they said, it wasn't a short time until one of her children passed away, which Tais discusses regarding why it should get punished. We know by a shvua, the Gemara tells in shvuas that ha'adam b'shvua prat lo anis. She didn't know. She really thought that she didn't have any benefit. So Tais at the end says, here, since it's a bekadin, she should have been more careful, and therefore she should have entertained that regarding her oath, and hence she was punished for that she actually did have benefit, as the Gemara is going to say in a moment, and therefore one of her sons died. Now, when the sages heard about the story, they said like this: if regarding someone who swears truthfully, look at the punishment she got. Someone who swears falsely, Allah has come and become all the more so. Says Gemara, so my tamiyancha, why was she punished? Because the shtarshi lamakam dinner. She benefited from the space of the coin, that in the dough, the thickness of the coin, if the coin wasn't there, she would have had to put a little bit more dough into the loaf that she went and she gained in the bread that she baked. And therefore, she did benefit from it in the space that it took up, and therefore her child died, because that was her shvur. So it says the Gemara, then why are you saying someone who swore truthfully, it wasn't true? She swore that she didn't have benefit, she did have benefit. It says, well, no, like someone who swears truthfully because she was totally mistaken. And because of the punishment of an oath is so great, therefore they stopped the woman from taking an oath when she's coming to collect the ksuba from the orphans. So the Gemara says, I don't understand. If that's the reason that you stopped her from making her shvur, because you see how severe it is, and a woman might make a mistake because she's not careful. So why are you saying about a widow? A divorcee also collects her ksuba from her ex-husband, from the orphans. Why did he say Ella almana, only by a widow of a grusha, but regarding a divorcee, halach is mashbinai, so we do make her take the oath. Why are you making her take the oath? Says the Gemara, almana shani. No, it's not true. Specifically, a widow is different because the bahi hana, because that pleasure, that benefit, the kotarchi kamedi asked me that she puts in the effort by the orphans. She didn't get divorced. She wasn't thrown out of the house. She wasn't divorced from her husband. The husband passed away. So generally, the widow stays in the house. She's the mother of the family. So she's putting an effort taking care of the orphans. Asila ruya hetech, what's called the famous phrase called maya hete. It means to say that she's going to come to rule permissibly for a little bit. She's going to think she's not going to get punished because, okay, a little bit here, a little bit there. That's, I deserve it. Comes to me, everything I do for this family. So because of that, really she has collected already a few dollars that she took from the family, which you think she's allowed to, but no, it's owned by the orphans. And therefore, we said that she can't take a shvu because she's going to be maraheta and she's going to be a little bit, and therefore, like Tay says, therefore they stopped her from taking an oath because it has a great punishment, rather by a neder, which is not so severe. But Tay says, Bisman hazeh, they're masakin to makabel a chayrim instead of a shvua, that the punishment should not be so great. But again, that's why it's specific on a widow, because a grusha, she's out of the house. She's not going to be maraheta. But almana, she might start fudging, and therefore we said, okay, no shvua. Now, Amar Rabbi Huda, Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba. He says, Rabbi Shmuel, Damar Tabai, they both say, Loi Shanu, we didn't learn this halacha that they stopped her from taking the oath, Ella bebezdin. So the way Rashi says, Taisus says differently, but that the Shvuas Hadayanin, the oath that they take in court is a biblical oath. You hold the Sefer Torah in your hand, or tefillin, and they make the person take an oath with God's name or one of his descriptive names. Like we find by Avram Avinu that he told Eliezer, Simno Yotcha Tachas Yerech, he wanted him to hold the Mila, which is a Cheftes Shel Mitzvah, Vashbiach B'Hashem, which is a great punishment. That's where we're afraid to have the woman take the oath. Avol Chutz LaBezdin, but out of the court, where that is only a rabbinic oath, with a curse of a Ur, and you're not holding any Cheftes Shel Mitzvah, and that's not such a great punishment, that must be nice. That actually we could have her take the oath even now. Now, says the Gemara, is that really so? That you tell me that Rav and Shmuel both agreed chutz lebezdin you could take such an oath? But Rav loy magvik ksuba malta, Rav never allowed a widow to collect ksuba. Why? Because the only way you could collect from the orphans with an oath, and they stopped from taking an oath. Now, if it's true that you're saying that Rav held that out of the bezdin she could take an oath, so let us swear out of the bezdin and collect the ksuba. Obviously, that he held no, even out of the bezdin. And the Gemara says, Kasha, that definitely is a difficulty on this version of Hud Mishmul. The Gemara tells us, Besura masnu hachim. Surah, Tana Bambadisa, that's how they learned that Rabbi Huda said that both Rav and Shmuel hold that the halacha was only said in bezdin, but chutz lebezdin you allowed to make you mashbiyan oisa. But in Arda, masnu hachim Arda, different Tana Baba, they learned differently. That the same one Rabbi Huda, but he actually says it as machlik as Rav and Shmuel, not both of them saying the same thing. Omar Shmuel says, Lo Yishanu, we didn't learn this halacha ela bebezdin, only in bezdin. Avachutz lebezdin mashbina says that's like the previous version. That's only Shmuel. Rav says afilachutz lebezdin ain't mashbina. So no, even out of the court we don't have her take the oath, and that's Rav Lutamei. According to the first version, it was a kasha. Now according to the second version, it's Rav according to his opinion. Because Rav lemagvik ksuba la malta, Rav would not collect any ksuba for a widow, and again the reason is because we're not mashbin even chutz lebezdin. So the Gemara wonders why. La'adra. Our Mishnah taught, you don't take a shvua, not in bezdin, not chutz bezdin, but we said that but you nederes liyasaimim. Whatever they want, they can make her take a neder. I'm not going to have any more food, whatever this and that. And really obvious, she could collect with a neder. Why wasn't he collecting any ksuba for any widows? Says Gemara, no, b'shnei de Rav, in the years of Rav, in his times, kili nidri. People treated nedarim very lightly to violate it. So you can't rely on a neder for it to collect because it doesn't mean much. People would just say it just like that, and therefore that wasn't an option either, and therefore he wouldn't collect any ksubas for any widows. The Gemara brings a story that there was a certain widow that Soile Kamid Rav Huna came in front of Rav Huna. Amallah, he said to her, look, ma'avidlach, what could I do for you? The Rav loy magvik suba la malta. Rav Huna, who was a student of Rav, says the Rebbe never collected a ksuba for a widow. What can I do for you? So Amallah, she said to him, what's the whole reason why they don't let a widow accept her ksuba? Because maybe I already have taken some of the ksuba, and you're afraid I'm double dipping. Chai Hashem tzavaka, by the life of the living God, I swear if I had any benefit from my ksuba. Oh, Madam Rav Huna says, Rav agrees when she jumps, meaning since she jumped and she swore, so then she could swear and collect. Meaning we initially don't want you to take a shvur because we're afraid of the punishment. Okay, fine. Then you can collect. Now, another story the Gemara brings. He does so. We said davka by the almana because she's in Meira Heter.
We're making a tikkun oilam aksibe for all the women in the world except for Amona. We have no way of dealing with that.
Child, right. In the times of Rav, that he's not collecting ksuba, that verse says how the women are going to want to get married. Yeah. Right? Because we say the whole thing, shemchina, whatever. Yeah. Good question. So the Gemara says another story. There was a woman that came in front of Rabbi bar Rav Huna, the son of Rav Huna. Amallah, he said to her, what can I do? The Rav lemagri ksuba la malta. Matata's Rebbe, they never collected ksuba for a widow. Baba Mori, Matata, Rav Huna, my father, my master, lemagri ksuba la malta. He also didn't collect ksuba for a widow. Amalei, so she said to him, okay, fine, have them mizayni, but at least give me food. Meaning, if I can't get the ksuba is when you leave the estate and you move on, you collect the ksuba. If I'm not getting my ksuba, at least let me get fed, which the halacha is that the widow gets fed from the estate until she collects the ksuba to leave. Amallah, I said to her, no, I'm sorry. Mezayni namid less lach. Now you also don't get mezaynis either. If a woman comes to claim her ksuba in court, ein la mezaynis, she doesn't get food anymore. Why? Because she's obviously revealing her intention that she wants to move on. She wants to get married to someone else. Now, the late husband only stipulated with her, as it says in the Ksuba, all the days that you're a widow in my house, which you're a widow, and that's only for you're staying as a widow, but in my honor. You're staying on in the family, you can't move on from me. Then I'll feed you. If you're trying to collect your Ksuba, that means you're trying to move on and get married somewhere else. Then you don't get mezainis anymore. So here she got bitten at both ends, because if she wouldn't have come to collect her ksuba, she would have gotten mezainis. And if she's not getting mezainis, okay, she should at least be able to get her ksuba. Says no, can't get ksuba because the tata and the tata never gave ksuba because you can't swear and the neder didn't have any value. But now that you tried collecting ksuba, now you can't get mezainis either, because if it's tabas mezainis shows you don't really care about your late husband. So now you don't get no ksuba, no mezainis. Samralei, she said to him, Afchu ala kurse, turn over his chair, meaning his greatness should be lowered, because kabeitre, obviously, you did to me like both of them for the bad. You did like Rav, again, not everyone holds like this. You did like Rav, who doesn't collect ksubas. You did like Shmuel, who says if you try collecting ksuba, you lose the mezainis. How dare you, do both opinions for bad that I can't get not ksuba, not mezainis. So hafchu l'kursei, so they turned over his chair, v'turtzei, and then they put it back up so that, so to speak, the woman's curse should be fulfilled with his chair to be overturned. Even so, ifrik mechulshe, he wasn't removed from his weakness. In other words, he wasn't saved from not coming to an illness. The woman's curse against the Rebbe became fulfilled because here he didn't let her get not ksuba and not mazainis. Amalei Rabbi Hudel Rabbi Yirmiyah Bira. He says, Adra bebezdin. have her take a vow in court, whatever the orphans want, vashba chutz lebezdin, and have her take an oath out of bezdin, v'leisi kala v'lipa bodne, and I want the word to come to my ear. I want to hear that a ksuba was collected in my days, meaning, because the beina kihecha de avid b'maisa, I want to have that the story should be done like my Rebbe Shmuel, meaning, as Rashi explains, to exclude from the previous Gemaras we had said, from the students of Rav, like Rav Huna and his court, that they wouldn't collect the ksuba for any widow, because you can't do a shvuah and you can't do, but Shmuel disagreed. Shmuel held in both versions that you can't make a shvuah in bezin, but you can make a shvuah chutz lebezin. And also they didn't agree to this principle that you can't make a neder. Gitin Daf. Now suddenly you can't make a neder anymore because there's the makel, and it says no. I want to take a neder in court and take a shvuah chutz lebezin, and then I want to hear that it was collected a ksuba for a widow, which is the ikar halacha, but the students of Rav weren't doing that. Now Gufa, that we just said before that Amar B'Zera Meshmul says it could be either means both because he wanted to have the combination. Neder with there were a bit of makel on the neder, and the shvuah chutz lebezin is not such a strong thing. So he says take a neder in court and have a shvuah chutz lebezin. The combination of those two of them, which Shmuel held you could take a shvuah chutz lebezin, Rav held that no chutz lebezin. Even then we don't let her take a shvuah. It's still a chamer dekazach. And that Shmuel said no, it's not so chamer. In court they said they stopped her from doing it. I guess you hold a sefer Torah and it's a biblical shvuah, and so therefore that's where they stopped.
Shvuah is more chamer than a neder.
Yeah. So therefore, but Shmuel and his Talmidim held that no, that you could, and therefore they wanted to collect specifically a ksuba. He wanted to hear that it was collected. Now the Gemara just goes back to the teaching of Shmuel that said we didn't learn that Mishnah that ein mashbiin el almana. So that's only by a widow. Of a grusha mashbiin, but by a divorcee, we do have her take an oath to be able to collect, because she doesn't really put in the effort into the orphans, so she's not going to be married. She's not going to rule permittedly to herself to say, "Oh, I'm allowed to," and it really that's not a big deal. Says the Gemara. So what? A grusha is saying mashbiin, but a grusha the adraloi. But you tell me that for a grusha a neder would not be enough, meaning mashbiin. If you say mashbiin, it sounds like that you have to. When you're collecting from orphans, a shvuah is what you have to make. You can't take a neder. A neder is not as severe as a shvuah. So you want to collect from orphans, we make it take a shvuah. Now the same thing would be a grusha. But that sounds like only the neder, only a shvuah they can make, but not a neder. Is that really so? But but they sent from over there. There was a woman from Bavel. Her and her husband made aliyah. They went to Eretz Yisrael, and there the husband divorced her, and she was claiming her ksuba. So they went, but all the assets were in Bavel. So the courts went and handed down a verdict on his assets in Bavel for the woman to collect for her ksuba. So they sent from Eretz Yisrael, Eich Pleinisa Bas Pleini, how this woman, the daughter of this man, Kabilas Gita Min Yada de Achar Bar Hidayah, she received the get from the hand of this guy's name was Achar Bar Hidayah, to Miskari Ayamari, that he was called Ayamari, as Rashi explained, that was his nickname, as Taisus on the previous daf said that we have to say all the nicknames, so they just specified his nickname. V'nodras, and she took a neder, v'asras peidish ba'il malah, and she made all the produce of the world forbidden on her. Taisus says not kol peidus, it says peidus, not kol peidus. But al kapanim, if she had received her ksuba, she's prohibiting peidus in the world on ourselves. Deloy kabilas miksubasa, because she didn't receive anything from her ksuba yet. Ella, what she did specify, itemized list, is ela gluf kura echad. There was one coat. The sefer tilim echad, one sefer tilim. The sefer Eiv, and the sefer of Eiv umem shalis, and sefer mishlei, that bloom that were worn out. See how specific they are. Itemized list. There's going to be lachamay v'es, and they're going to say everything that you took. And as a Gitin Daf beis, and she brought them in front of us, these items, v'shamnim, and we evaluated them b'chamisha mana, that they're worth 5 mana. Okay, that's all she had collected. When she comes to you, higvu esashar, collect for the rest. In other words, sending from Eretz Yisrael, where she got divorced, said that the court is sending back to the courts in Babel, say that this woman, give her the ksuba that she could collect from her husband's estate. But one thing we see is, what did she do to collect the ksuba? She took a neder, not a shvuah. I thought you said for gerusha, which is this woman was geget, that you have to take a shvuah, not a neder. Says the Gemara. Well, it sounded like from the Shmuel's teaching that only ein mashbiin is almana, But your mashbin is a gerusha. If you mashbin, it means you have to do the more severe shvua. I thought it's not enough for the neder. So that says the Gemara, Rav Asher, who get Yavam and have him. That actually was her Yavam, her brother-in-law. Her husband died without any children. He gave her a get. Why did he give her a get? Because he wanted to make that none of his brothers could do Yibam. Because if you give a get, one of the brothers, she's passing on all the brothers. Now she's coming to collect the ksuba from the latest state of her first husband that she was widowed from him. So that's a widow. A widow takes a neder, not a shvur, like we said. So therefore, it's not a stira. That is a get yavam, and it's not a get of a husband.
Why was the neder in Beis Din and the shvur outside of Beis Din?
Because the shvur in Beis Din is too severe. We're afraid the woman's going to get a huge punishment from Shemaim, so we don't let her take a shvur in Beis Din. But I say it a little differently than Rashi, but Hakapanim, it's a case of get Yevamin, so therefore it's a case of Almana, and therefore, you take a neder, not a shvur. Now we said in the Mishnah that Hiskin Rimlil Hazakan, he instituted in the Deres V'chulu that she should take a neder in lieu of the shvur. Now Amrav, when he qualifies this teaching, he says, Loishon, they didn't learn that she could collect by taking a neder, ele b'shlei nisis, only if she didn't yet get married to someone else at the time when she's come to collect her ksuba from her first husband. Avonissis, if she already got married, so then she cannot take a neder to collect from the orphans. Says Gemara, wait, nisis my timer. As the Bach adds on the word loy. Well, why if she got married, can she not collect her ksuba? Because, the made for labal. What happens is that a woman that takes a neder, her husband, carte blanche, is allowed to go ahead and nullify her vow. And she's relying on that. So she's going to take a vow and collect with a lie, saying, you know what, if I got anything up until now, I'll never go to this grocery store, whatever, something that's impossible for her. No problem. She comes back home, tells her husband that, hey, I collected this $10,000, my late husband said. I said, if I did, then I'll take a vow. You know what? So go be mat to my neder, made for the neder, and that's it. She doesn't have to keep that. She didn't lie or anything. The problem is, if that's the concern, because if she's married, she has a husband automatically that it can be made for the neder. So even if she didn't get married, but when she will get married, made for the labal. So right now she's single, but she'll get married in a few months. So she won't go to the grocery, she won't eat any challah, any whatever, something that's impossible for her. But a few months later, she'll get married, the husband will be made for the neder. Says no. Ain't about made for b'kaidman. A husband cannot nullify pre-existing vows that were there before the marriage. That's how Allah the Gemara in the Dharm teaches the source for that. So that we're not concerned for that. It says, okay, there's two ways to kill a cat. You can go ahead and be made for the neder, which the husband, or you can be mated the neder, and the chacham is going to be permitted. Mutulach, and that's it. She'll be out of the problem. Says no, ksavar, that the Rav Huna held that if someone asks the chacham regarding his neder, tzarich lafarid as a neder. You have to specify to the Rav what's this neder that you want him to permit. So when she's going to specify in front of him, she's going to say, I want you to know, I took a neder to Yisaimim, and I took a neder, if I had any benefit of my ksuba, that I should be forbidden to travel out of my home for the rest of my life. So he's not going to be matter it because he realizes obviously that was her scheme. So you're not going to have the problem about Hataras Nadarm because he'll realize since you have to specify. Menachem says no. Afil nisis, you could say the halacha of taking the neder that you're allowed to is even if she's married. Says, I don't understand. This is vadi mevel abal. What do you mean the husband's going to nullify it? How's it going to be effective? Says, no, the madrinon la barabim. They make the woman take a neder in public in front of 10 people, and he held a neder that was hud de barabim. Ein lo hafara has no nullification, and therefore it's not going to help. You're not going to be able to be made for the husband. Not going to be able to be made for the neder. But Meisvei, the Gemara asks on Rav Huna, the first opinion from the following brisa. Rav Huna had said that this halacha of neder was only if she's not married. But if she's married, you cannot make her take a neder. The brisa says nisis if she got married, goyvik subasem nadra. She collected ksuba if she took a neder. My love, isn't it saying nadra hasha should take a neder right now when she's collecting after she's married? That's the word Rav Huna. Rav Huna said that teaching is only if she's not married. So you no, the nadra meikara. is talking about that if she took a neder before she got married, then she could collect it even after she's married, because again, the husband cannot be made for pre-existing nedarim, like it says in the pasuk when midbar. Then base isha nedara, that's the sort of halacha. If she took the neder in her husband's house, which excludes if she took it before she was with the husband, then it cannot be made for. So therefore, the brisa does not contradict Rav Huna. But says I've learned the brisa, and this is if she gets married, it's in the present tense. She can take a neder and collect her ksuba. So you see that's clearly not like Rav Huna. Says the Gemara, you're right, Tanoihi. It's a machlekes Tanoim later on in the parak of Memheim Beis, because the ikal mandam, there is those who say neder shuhud berabim. If you take a neder in public, yesh lehafara, you can nullify it. So according to him, the woman cannot collect because the husband's going to be made for it. So that's like the concern of Rav Huna. But there are those who hold that no, you cannot nullify it. So according to him, that even if that if you take a neder in berabim, that you can go ahead and collect it even after she's married, because it doesn't make a difference. There's no way being made for it, and that's the way Rav Nachman would hold. So therefore, it depends on this machlekes tanoim if the halacha of a mishnah is only if she's not married, or even if she is married, depending on the machlekes of neder shod berabim, if there's hafara from the husband or not. Now, by the way, the following question, which relates back to the concept we mentioned before, tzarich lefardas a neder, when you are coming to matter a neder by the chacham, do you have to specify the vow? Do you have to say what the vow was about? Or you not say Rebbe, I have gemacht a neder, but matters and the neder. Do you have to say what it was or not? So Nachman Omar says, you don't have to say, you don't have to specify. But Papa Matzarich says, no, you have to. So the Gemara explains. Nachman says, you don't have to say what it was, because I'll tell you why. The Amatzarich, if you say that the person has to say what the neder was, zimnin the guys leile debure. Sometimes you might cut off some of the words that you originally said. You're not going to specify everything to the ruv. The chacham and the sage is only going to nullify it with the intention of my deshama mefer. What he heard is what he's going to nullify. So therefore, don't specify everything that you said in the neder, because if you don't say everything, he's not being matter the whole neder, because you didn't say everything. Oh, I thought it was only this. Rather say, I took such a neder and I made all the pairs of this type forbidden on me. I want to be matter that neder, but don't say the whole backstory, because if you miss out some of it, it's a mistaken hatara. It won't be a full-fledged hatara. The Papa Matzarchi says, no, you have to be mefareded. You have to specify because of a prohibited element. Meaning, maybe she had taken the neder because of something prohibited. For example, like the case we're discussing here in our daf. For example, she wants to collect a ksuba. And for example, let's say she says, all the pairs of the world will be forbidden on me if I violate this sin. And she's coming to be mata the neder because she wants to be over that affair, which is interesting. That, well, it's a klein avayda, you know what I'm saying? But if she does the avayda, she's gonna have a neder on her head. She wants to be mata the neder, so that you could get that account back on, or whatever you want to watch, something that's it's a klein avayda says, if I watch this, I'm never gonna have cake again in my life. And she wants to have cake, so she's mata the neder. She goes to chacham gemacht a neder of cake. Can you mata the neder for me? The Rebbe's gonna say okay. But now she's going to go back and she's going to start watching this show that she said that it's a terrible thing for her. So no, you have to say, the Rebbe's going to say, no, go for help, this and that, but I can't be mad to this on that. This is necessary for you. So because of that, he says you have to specify the neder when you come to be mata. So the Gemara asks on Rav Nachman, who said you don't have to specify the neder from Tanan. We learned in a Mishnah, it's a Mishnah in Bechiris of Memheim Beis. If someone married, a kohen married prohibited women that are prohibited to kahuna, so he married them in sin, let's say gusha. So puzzle, he's invalid to do the avoid in the Beis Hamikdash until he makes a neder prohibiting him to have any benefit from this woman, which he's going to have to divorce her. Now, B'Tani Allah, we learned a brayso on this, that neder, he makes a neder prohibiting hana, and he does the avoid even though he didn't even divorce her yet. Then Yared, then he comes down from doing the Avodah, and after he finishes, Umagarish, and then he divorces her. Says the Gemara, and if you say in the Tzarech Lefardas a neder, you don't have to specify what the neder is, like Rav Nachman said. So why are we not concerned that this kohen wanted to do the avoid. They said, yeah, I'm not giving anybody no problem. He gets up, does the avoid, the größere, the ganze Sach, all the pelts and everything, does the whole thing, comes down. He goes over to his fellow chochem and he says, I'm gemacht aned, probably any ben for my wife. Oh yeah, okay. Mutulach, and that's it. He stays in business. So if obviously you have to mefart aned, because what's the point? How can that the kohen do the avoida if he's just going to come down and be matrid? Says the Gemara, as a Gitin Daf of Lamed Vav Medalef, the Madrin Leberabim. But no, we make him take the ned of this kohen in public in front of a million of people. Says the Gemara, wait a second. That's good according to the one, as we mentioned this machlekes before, that says neder shod beram in lafara. If you could take a neder in public, there's no nullifying that. That neder is going to stay forever. The one that says that you could nullify it. What are you going to say? You can still go to the chacham, and the chacham can still be mad to the neder. Says the Gemara, no, the Madrin le al das rabim. Not birabim, al das rab. What does that mean? On the consciousness of the public. Meaning they tell him, we are making you take a neder based on our consciousness. Where the Amar Amema says, even according to the one that says neder made in public, you can nullify al das rabim in lafara. If you did it with this thought process of the whole community, you can't nullify because you're based on our intention, which Tais discusses when you do it on an individual versus the rabbim. But the Gemara just qualifies, so therefore there's no way for him to be matter, so we don't have that concern. So you don't have to specify it, he won't be able to matter anyway. But says the Gemara, when do we say that there's no hafara when you did it al das rabbim is l'dvar harishos? If it's something, an optional, voluntary thing, meaning we don't have to be mevatel it, we don't need to be made for it for the purpose of any mitzvah purpose, then you cannot be made for it. Of dvar mitzvah yesh lafar, but if it's a mitzvah purpose, then you could nullify it. As the Gemara ends off with a story, who makri dardiki. There was a school teacher of young children, the Adre Rav Acha. Rav Acha took a neder that this man will never teach children ever again. Al das rabim, he did it based on the consciousness of the community. Why? Because Abba Pasha Biyanuki, he was negligent regarding the children. He would give them petch more than what was necessary. I guess he probably taught him my ched, probably that's what it was, As he gave him klep, that was too much. The Hadr Ravina reinstituted, brought him back and gave him the job again. Because they didn't find anyone that was so precise like him. So even like he knew his the umness. Sounds like even him gave him klep. Looks like your rebbeim were right that they were able to stay in business because they knew what they were doing. But al kapam, you see that when it's l'dvar mitzvah, then there is a hafara even when it's al das rab. Thank you to anytime for hosting us.